Jackie seemed too composed. I don't know what that means exactly. Okay.
I've seen that.
There is a certain way that one has to carry themselves when you know that you're on public television. You know, and the whole world was actually watching her at that time.
Yeah.
And we all know that she had a privileged upbringing. Okay.
But I think it was more to do with, I've worked with people as a social worker who have lost loved ones who people have said they're not acting right, and I would say, well, what is acting right when you lose someone? How should a person act or react when they lose somebody? You know, we often judge a person by how they react. And in this case, this woman lost her son, her 19-year-old son, and the reporter carrying the case said to me, you know, you're her therapist. Why is she acting like she's still here? And my only statement was, because that's the way that her mind is coping.
Was that before the funeral or after?
It was right about, his body was still in the street. It was before the funeral.
That's why, because...
we all got there. We got the phone call. I happened to be with her. It was a block and a half from her home, and he had stepped out in front of a school bus, not realizing there was another car. He was hit. We were right there, and as soon as the reporter got there, he started questioning her actions, which I felt was bizarre on his part.
Well, you know, they're after the story. That's what they get paid for. That's why they ask the most ridiculous questions in the world all the time. You know, you ask somebody who just lost a loved one, how do you feel? Well, how do you think I feel? But
the answer's not going to be, I want to go to Disneyland.
As far as how she acted, you know, the finality is not there until the person is in the ground, or if the person is being cremated and you get the ashes. Then, you know, the reality of the whole thing sets in. I don't want to cut you off, but...
No, honey, you're not.
No. Stay on the line until we get another call. But one of our listeners sent in an email. Ira said that on Killing Kennedy on the National Geographic Channel provides more insight on the lone gunman theory.
Is that the one that it's a dramatization? There was one
they all of them had their own 3D dramatization.
Right, but there was one that,
what
what
might
was
have
his
happened.
name? Matt I can't remember his name. You know me, my brain is dead. No, I can't. There's one that's like a recreation sort of in me, a la Stone, you know, sorry.
Well, that's all right. It'll come to you.
The names don't matter. It's the thoughts that matter.
Right. You don't have to come up with any names or anything. It's just, you know.
Yeah, it was just, I've tried to watch as much, and it's like almost to get sick of it, but it's fascinating because people like myself, who I'm 52, who don't have a recollection, who go by what my conspiracy mother taught me. You know, it's amazing, the differences. You said, what channel is that on?
National Geographic.
Okay, let's see. I've got CNN.
On New York, on New York Cablevision, I think that's like 163 because I watch a lot of that myself.
Yeah, Nat Geo is
No, I know you're in.
Maryland.
We've got another phone call also.
Okay, we have another call coming in. So,
okay.
Jody, we're going to have to cut you short. Thank you,
you're not,
and we know.
I just wanted to make sure that you heard my voice.
Well, that's great. We know we're going to hear from you again.
Bye-bye.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Hi, you're on Trucking to Heaven. And who's calling, please?
It's Don calling.
Don, you made it.
Yeah, is this Felix?
This is Felix. Yep.
Felix
and Mark is
and
here.
Mark. Hi, guys. How are you tonight?
Hi, guys. Listen, before you even start, because I don't want to cut you off because I know you have a lot to say, got a couple of emails here that I just want to get in.
Okay.
I promise people.
Okay.
One person says that, Matt Lauer was interviewing, doing a report, and he seemed to think that she was too composed, although, let's face it, I did say before that she had such an upbringing that, and being the first lady, I think she was prepared for this. But, the caller also intimated that she felt that Jackie might have been having an affair, with Onassis, because shortly, 4 years later or so, she married Aristotle Onassis. I don't know. I do know that she went on many vacations those first 2.5 years, on her own because he was busy running the country. And she did spend time on Onassis's boat. What that means, I really can't say. I'm not going to speculate. But I just promised the person I would get it in. So the floor is yours now, Donald.
Well, that's very interesting because I hadn't heard that before, but the conspiracy theories are alive and well, aren't they?
Yes, in fact, this caller believes that Onassis might have even had something to do with it. Well, a lot of people have said big business had something to do with it.
Or the mob had something to do with it.
Or the mob. But, big business, he was, through his brother, he was really cracking down on the steel industry.
Yeah.
Okay? And you make a lot of enemies, It's look at what the Koch brothers are doing, with all their money, and Sheldon Adelstein, in trying, but that's today. That's now. We're not going to, I don't want to discuss that. But the bottom line is big business and big money throw around a lot of weight.
It does. And I think one thing that Kennedy, his administration, and Bobby in particular were really focusing on organized crime. And I think that certainly made him, President Kennedy, not in great favor in the South, I would think.
Exactly, and that's why they were so worried about this Dallas trip.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, they were saying that before the elections, he met with a lot of Kennedy met with a lot of mob people in Chicago, asking, to help them, win Chicago.
Yeah. Oh, there's
many.
There's so many factors and issues and ideas and concerns that it's actually mind-boggling. But I heard the beginning of the broadcast, and I was very interested in Mark's comment about having changed his views because I as well have done that. I don't know if you well remember, maybe a month or so ago when I was talking about this issue about JFK anticipating his 50th anniversary. I was pretty convinced that it was a conspiracy, that there was more than one shooter. But I've come around after, as Mark did, and I guess you too, Felix. I've watched so much TV, so many authors and commentators, narrators, and witnesses, and so on. And today's New York Times had two fantastic articles. I don't know if you saw them. One was what made Kennedy great. The other one was Kennedy's turning point for our nation, which was two fantastic. I've come around to thinking that, you know what, also, I saw a clip on TV of a sharpshooter up in the depository window with a bolt-action rifle, much like Oswald had, and in 6 seconds got off 3 rounds. I mean,
well, I'm sure you remember initially that was the big question.
Yeah.
Could Oswald get off 3 rounds with an old Italian
What kind of
bolt?
rifle? Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, when I saw that, I said, I didn't believe it was possible. When I saw this guy do it, I said, whoa, that's quite possible. And then, as you did, Mark, and Felix, I was watching all the news and just something inside me said, if it's possible for the brain to hold 2 opposing thoughts, and one would be, was a lone shooter, and the other one was a second shooter. My left brain says, which is the reasoning one, said, it had to be just one shooter. My right brain, which is the more emotional, intuitive one, said, it had to be 2. I'm holding 2 thoughts in both brains, and I'm saying, you know what? It's only one shooter, but you know what? It's possible that there was another one. Only possible. So I've come around to thinking it was really one shooter, and it was
Even
Oswald.
if there's the shooter, he may have been prompted by somebody else to do it, and it may still been some kind of a conspiracy.
Oh, sure. Well, yeah, but if conspiracy theory is one thing, Felix, but who shot? Who was the shooter is something else.
Yeah.
I honestly think that it was the fact that there was nothing positive going on in his life, and many people tend to blame. I mean, you blame the person on the top.
Yeah.
Okay, he was a Marxist, Oswald. He was not a capitalist. He did not agree with anything that Kennedy was trying to do. He probably even went so far as blaming the current administration at that time for his rejection in Russia.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that the Russians didn't even want him.
Exactly.
So he put all that works on you, and you say, gee, I really have to do something about this.
Yeah.
And that's it. How much planning went into it? Nobody knows, because Jack Ruby took that away from us.
Well, remember that you talk about planning. That's an interesting point. He planned this whole thing, taking a shot at General Walker. And from what I saw on TV, I didn't read this, but I saw on TV, he was really watching the plan of General Walker did. He was planning his movements. He was
right. He was against the military. It was the military that he was angry at.
He almost killed the general. So this was a guy who knew how to plan and also knew how to shoot.
Yeah.
I think he was highly underestimated in the eyes of the public and the press.
Right.
Okay, I do want to mention one thing. Again, I received an email on my phone that from the same person who said that it was stated that Onassis was involved with organized crime in Europe, or possibly even in this country. So if there was a connection between Jackie and him, which I don't think so, but people are entitled to their opinion.
Sure.
Okay, it is very possible that his money might have gone to, support such action, but I've already stated how I feel.
Let me tell you something that I've been thinking about, and that is, it's incredible to think that a little schlep, a little know nothing,
A nebbish.
a nebbish, to use an Irish term, who could possibly bring down the most admired, renowned, loved, charismatic figure who inspired not only this nation, but the world, could bring down an individual like that with a couple of shots. The mind can't comprehend that possibility. And that's what makes this incredible. And also, I think in my mind, it also inspires these conspiracy theories. Like, it's not possible for this little idiot who, by the way, in my mind, married a beautiful woman, brings her here to America and says, watch what a big man I am, and turns out to be
A nothing.
A nothing. And I think that crushed him because he could hardly hold a job. He was